Do you ever feel like your body is tense, your emotions are close to the surface, and your mind just won't settle? Not because something is wrong, but because something isn't moving. In traditional Chinese medicine, health isn't just about how much energy you have. It's about whether that energy flows. And today we're talking about that system that governs that flow, the liver. Healing's like tending a garden, and in every video we water the roots. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Amy, and today's wisdom comes from the heart of traditional Chinese medicine. In a previous video we explored the kidneys, the deep ocean, the molten core, the origin of life. Today we move from the depth of the ocean, our mountain ranges, to the movement of our rivers. In traditional Chinese medicine, our kidneys and our liver are very, very closely connected. They both belong to the lower jiao. If you're new to this term, you can think of it as our body having three regions: upper, middle, and lower. Upper jiao, which is our chest area, belongs to our heart and our lungs, so the sun and the atmosphere. Middle jiao is where our digestion lies, our spleen and stomach, aka the soil of our planet. And then lastly, our lower jiao, the deep lower body, where storage, reproduction, and foundational reserve live. When I say that the liver and kidneys are closely connected, they both relate strongly to the lower jiao. I'm talking about the deeper system of blood, essence, reproduction, menstruation, and foundational energy. The kidneys are your reserves, and the liver is the distribution system. One stores, one moves. Without the kidney, there's nothing to distribute. Without the liver, nothing moves smoothly. Our liver has two main functions: 疏泄, which means to ensure smooth flow. And this is the liver's most important role. It regulates qi movement, emotional expression, digestion, bowel flow, which is the modern parallel, and menstrual rhythm. When this function is smooth, everything flows. When it's not, you feel stuck. The next function of liver is storing blood, 藏血. So the liver stores blood and releases it when necessary. It supports menstruation, tendons and muscles, vision, and emotional stability. At rest, the blood flows back to the liver. During activity, the blood nourishes the body. Let's put them all together. The liver belongs to the wood element, and now wood represents growth, expansion, flexibility, and direction. Its season is spring. And remember, spring is not about forcing change. It is about allowing growth. And that is exactly how the liver functions. The liver is the river system of your body. The kidneys are the molten core and the ocean. Rivers are born from the ocean. They carry life across the land. They technically nourish everything by bringing in the flow. But if the river is blocked, the whole ecosystem suffers. In traditional Chinese medicine, every zang, every organ, is not just a function. It is a complete system. Each one is connected to a manifestation, an opening, a season, an emotion, and even a taste. This is how we understand the body as a whole ecosystem. For the liver, its element is wood, season spring, opening the eyes, tissue the tendons, manifestation our nails, emotion, anger and frustration, and the taste sour. Now, instead of memorizing this, let's understand it. The liver opens to the eyes, and this means when the blood is sufficient, our vision would be clear. And when it is not, you may experience dryness, strain, or blurred vision. And now our nails reflects the condition of our liver. Healthy liver means strong and smooth nails. If your liver is weak or stagnant, your nails are going to be brittle, ridged, or simply dull. Next, with our tissues, tendons. Our liver governs tendons. So when qi flows well, you feel flexible, not physically but also mentally as well. So when it doesn't, You feel tight, stiff, and restricted. Then moving on to spring. Spring is the season of growth and expansion. And this is also the reason why spring is also the easiest time for liver qi to become imbalanced. Too much pressure creates stagnation. Too much force creates frustration. And this is what we always do when it comes to spring. People are always trying to spring clean or reinvent themselves, improve themselves, but too much all at once. And this leads to the emotion anger. And the emotion of the liver is anger and frustration. This is better understood as the movement of emotion. When your emotions move and are not bottled up, you feel balanced. However, when emotions are stuck, frustration builds up. Now, onto the taste, sour. Sour has a contracting quality. In moderation, it regulates our liver. But if you have too much, it restricts movement. So moderation is key. When you understand this, you stop seeing the liver as just an anatomical organ. You will start seeing it as a system. And this system connects movement, emotion, structure, and perception. So this is why when the liver is out of balance, you don't just feel it in one place, you feel it everywhere. Which leads us to the most commonly seen patterns for our liver. First one, liver qi stagnation. I have made videos on this, so please do check them out. So what this means is that the liver qi is stagnated. It is restricted. The function of flow is disrupted. And remember, our liver ensures smooth flow. And therefore, your qi is present, but your blood is not moving. And when the blood is not moving, this creates tension, pressure, and emotional constraint. It's not just mood swings that you'll experience. It is wanting to express but holding back, feeling internally conflicted, emotional pressure building, tension without release. And physically, some people may experience chest tightness, rib side discomfort, bloating, and a lot of sighing. And obviously, emotionally, frustrated, irritated, and really low tolerance for almost everything. Impatient. Why do women feel this more? Because the liver stores blood and it regulates menstruation. For us, women, blood is almost everything. So when your qi flows, your blood flows. When qi stagnates, your blood stagnates as well. And when blood stagnates, pain appears. However, liver qi stagnation is just the beginning. If it persists, it can transform into liver fire. How do we understand this? Well, stagnation generates heat. And very telling symptoms are red eyes, headaches, irritability, and anger outbursts. Not only do you have liver fire, but it may also be liver wind. And now this is where it gets very interesting. In traditional Chinese medicine, we say 肝主风. The liver governs wind. So now this is where it becomes very abstract. But TCM, we love nature and we always relate back to nature. So our body and nature are one. So what does wind mean? Wind in traditional Chinese medicine doesn't mean air. It means movement that is sudden, unpredictable, and uncontrolled. Think about the wind in nature. It can be gentle and flowing or sudden and violent. It can change direction quickly and it can appear without warning. Your air turbulence when you're flying. Oh my gosh, that's my absolute worst nightmare. And it's so frequent now. Why air turbulence is occurring so frequently now? Global warming. You see what I'm getting at? Human body and nature, we are one. I hope you're all slowly understanding this because this is so interesting. But back to the topic. When the liver loses control of movement, wind appears internally. So what does internal wind look like? It's dizziness, tremors, spasms, twitching, sudden headaches, and vertigo. And in more severe cases, strokes, and convulsions. But to help you understand this better, in modern medicine, we also see conditions that involves uncontrolled or involuntary movements. For example, tremors, or even conditions like Parkinson's disease. They can, in traditional Chinese medicine, sometimes be understood through the lens of internal wind. But I want to be very clear here. This does not mean that all tremors or neurological conditions are simply liver wind. In clinical practice, these conditions are often very, very complex. They may involve liver wind, underlying deficiencies, especially in deficiency, internal heat, or long-term depletion. What I want you to understand from this video and all my videos is not to take this as a way of diagnosing, never, but understanding. So in TCM, when movement becomes uncontrolled, we describe that as wind. Why the liver? Because the liver governs tendons, movement, and coordination. When regulation fails, movement becomes chaotic. That is wind. So a very simple way to remember this: liver governs flow, and flow only happens when your body is balanced. Your liver is balanced. However, wind happens when it is dysregulated. Why is it for many people they still feel tired? It is not because energy is not enough. It's simply because of the problem of the flow. Flow is everything. You can have energy, but if it's not flowing, you're still going to be exhausted. How can you restore this flow? You can do it with movement. Start stretching, start exercising. Gentle and consistent makes better impact. Emotional release is equally important. Expression removes blockages. And now let's talk about diet for better flow. Let's make this practical. How do we support the liver through food? In traditional Chinese medicine, we don't eat randomly. We eat according to temperature and function. For liver tree stagnation, the goal is simple. Move, don't block. Soften, not suppress. And lighten, not burden. The liver belongs to the element wood. Its color is green. Now this is not just symbolic. Green food tends to support movement, reduce stagnation, gently detoxify, and lighten the system. Examples: bok choy, spinach, broccoli, celery, cucumbers, in moderation because cucumbers are cooling, so not too much of it. And then green beans, so literally anything green in color. But we also have to look at its thermal. So like I mentioned, cucumber, a little bit on the side. You can have it during summer, but not during winter. Eat in season. So think fresh, light, and slightly expanding. Liver is associated with the taste sour. In moderation, sour helps with regulating the liver, promotes fluid movement, and prevents excessive stagnation. So here are some examples: apple vinegar, lemon, lime, hawthorn, and pickled vegetables. But remember, everything should be in moderation. Don't just start drinking 1 liter of apple vinegar water. In fact, too much all at once does more harm than good. What are some foods that can help with moving qi? These are especially useful for stagnation, such as your mint, chrysanthemum, and rose tea. Very important for my beautiful ladies. These 3 are aromatic. You can think of them as your light movers. And then we have something else, something more pungent, such as your garlic, ginger, turmeric, and spring onion. Too much of warming things does cause it to overheat. So everything, moderation is key. However, they help to release, circulate, and soften internal pressure. However, I think this is the most important part. If you want flow, you need to reduce the blockage, which means avoiding excessive greasy food, cold food, fried food, heavy dairy, alcohol, because it causes a lot of dampness, and excessive caffeine. So all these mentioned, they cause dampness, heat, or stagnation. which makes the river heavier and harder to move. And the next advice is what a lot of people tend to ignore. It's not just what you eat, but how you eat as well. For liver health, I lied. For general health, don't eat when emotionally overwhelmed. Why? Because your mind is not registering what is going into your body. And then when you overeat, you overwork your system. And that will cause a lot of internal stress. Secondly, avoid rushing meals. Thirdly, chew slowly. And lastly, allow digestion to happen calmly. Don't lie down immediately after a meal. Because the liver directly affects digestion, if chi is tense, digestion becomes tense. This is getting kind of long. If you remember nothing else, just remember these. Add something green, add something slightly sour, keep meals warm and balanced, avoid anything too heavy or too greasy. My darlings, you are not trying to be perfect. You are simply trying to help your internal river to flow. So when you combine movement, emotional release, and supportive diet, you are no longer forcing your body to become a certain way. You are working with it. Moving on to the acupressure point that you can press daily. Let's make it super practical. If there is one point that I want you to remember for improving liver health, it is, you guessed it, Tai Chong. This is one of the most important points for moving liver qi. So how do you find it? Well, look at your foot. Find the space between your big toe and the second toe. Now follow that space upwards. You'll feel a natural dip just before where the bones meet. That is Tai Chong. And when you press this point, you might feel a dull ache, slight soreness, or a spreading sensation. That means that you have found the point and your qi is responding. I always advise use a thumb. Apply firm but comfortable pressure. Massage in small circles and do this for 1 to 2 minutes. Breathe slowly as you do it. And remember, consistency matters more than intensity. These are the immediate benefits of pressing your Tai Chong. Emotional tension, irritability, stress and frustration, headaches, especially by the temples, PMS symptoms, chest tightness, and that pent-up feeling. Many of my patients tell me when I acupuncture that point, they tell me to do it gently. But it's not me that decides it. Like when I put in the needle, I'm releasing the flow. So you're going to feel a very big stimulation if it's been stuck for a long time. But after a while, the coursing river calms down and eventually they'll fall asleep. Acupuncture is a very calming experience. So if you haven't tried acupuncture, go see your local TCM doctor. Relaxation happens when your qi is flowing smoothly. So my dear friends, think of this point as where the blocked river begins to open and flow returns. If you press here right now, yes, press it right now. Do you find it surprisingly tender? Well, that is a sign that your body is holding a lot of tension. So start helping yourself. Release it. So my darlings, if you're watching this and thinking, this is me, I feel so bottled up, I feel so constrained, I feel restricted, good. Because now you understand your body better. And that you know that your body is not lacking strength, it is lacking flow. And please, don't be so hard on yourself. To wrap this all up, your kidney gives you depth, the liver gives you flow and direction. And when your river flows from deep, stable oceans, your entire internal world, your planet, becomes nourished and balanced. Healing is like tending a garden, and when the river flows smoothly, everything grows. Comment down below on a scale of 1 to 10, how tender is your Tai Chong? Thank you so much for sitting through this video. I hope you learned more about your liver and more about liver qi stagnation and what liver qi stagnation can evolve into. Stay tuned for the next video on the soil and the nourishment of your planet. Thank you so much again for all your comments and all your support. It means so much more than you think. I truly am blessed to have you as an audience. And with that being said, I wish you all good health, and good health is the ultimate fortune and the only investment with endless return. And when do we start investing? Right now. Invest in your LV channel, everyone. It is almost better than the bags. Why get an external LV bag when your internal LV is stuck? Food for thought.